They threw his body into a frozen river in the middle of a Russian winter. And when they pulled him out, one hand had clawed free from the ropes, like he was still trying to get up. Who does that? Who survives that? The answer is either a holy man touched by God, a cunning fraud who played an entire empire, or something so strange that neither explanation fully fits. That's the thing about Grigori Rasputin. The closer you look, the less you understand him. And that's exactly how he wanted it. They poisoned him enough to kill 5 men. Then they shot him. Then they beat him. Then they thrash. To understand how he survived that river, you have to understand the wasteland he crawled out of. Not just Siberia, not just poverty. We're talking about a place so remote, so brutal, so completely cut off from the world that survival itself was the only ambition anyone had. The kind of place that either breaks you completely or builds something in you that doesn't know how to quit. Rasputin was born there in 1869. Peasant father. No education, no future. Just another face in an empire of millions who would live and die in the mud without anyone ever knowing their name. Something happened to him as a teenager. A vision, a breakdown, a moment where the wiring in his brain rearranged itself into something different. Nobody agrees on what exactly it was. But he walked away from that village, changed, obsessed with God, in the way only someone with nothing else has the energy for. He became a stranik, a holy wanderer, thousands of miles on foot across Russia. Filthy, fasting, half-starved, no money, no destination. Just this burning, restless energy that people around him couldn't name and couldn't look away from. Here's what nobody talks about. Wanderers like him weren't rare in Russia. What made Rasputin different was what happened when he opened his mouth. Rooms stopped. People forgot what they were doing. Something in his presence short-circuited normal social logic. He hadn't even reached St. Petersburg yet, and already people were afraid of him. He arrived in St. Petersburg around 1903. No credentials, no letters of introduction, no reason anyone should open a single door for him. He smelled like a man who'd walked across a continent because he had. But something about him made people freeze. His eyes. Everyone who met Rasputin mentioned the eyes first. Pale, almost colorless, but with a focus that felt physical, like being touched by something that was also measuring you. The poet Zinaida Gippius said meeting his gaze felt like being examined by something not quite human. She wasn't the only one. Generals said it, countesses said it. Hardened politicians who'd survived decades of court intrigue said it. Picture the scene. Gold-leafed ballrooms, women in silk, men who'd inherited more wealth than most countries produced in a year. And into that world walks this creature from the Siberian mud crude, loud, eating with his hands, saying whatever crossed his mind with zero apology. And instead of throwing him out, they couldn't stop staring. He didn't bow. He didn't perform. He looked at duchesses the way a man looks at someone he's already figured out. Russia's aristocracy had spent generations building walls of etiquette and rank and refinement, and Rasputin walked through every single one like they weren't there. The fear in those rooms wasn't fear of violence. It was something more unsettling. The fear of being truly seen by someone who had no reason to be kind about what they found. That's a dangerous kind of man to let near a throne. By 1905, he had made it into the orbit of the Romanovs. And that's where it gets strange. Tsar Nicholas II Alexandra had a son named Alexei. He was the heir to the Russian throne. He also had hemophilia, a disease where blood doesn't clot. Every bruise was potentially fatal. Every stumble, every childhood fall that any other boy would walk away from could kill him. The boy lived in quiet, constant terror. His parents lived in it with him every single day. They tried everything. The best doctors in Europe. Specialists brought in from across the continent. Prayer. Experimental treatments. Nothing worked. Nothing even came close. Then Rasputin walked into a room with Alexei, and the bleeding stopped. Nobody has ever fully explained this. Modern theories range from hypnosis, lowering the boy's anxiety and blood pressure, to Rasputin convincing Alexandra to stop giving Alexei aspirin, which thins blood. and which the royal doctors had been prescribing without realizing the damage it caused. Maybe it was both. Maybe it was something else entirely. But it happened repeatedly. Every time Alexei spiraled into crisis, they called Rasputin. Every time Rasputin arrived, the boy stabilized. What would you do if a dirty wanderer from Siberia was the only thing keeping your child alive? You'd do exactly what Alexandra did. You'd let him in. You'd keep letting him in. And you'd turn on anyone who tried to take him away. Alexandra's devotion became absolute. She called him our friend. She wrote him letters historians have been arguing about ever since. She believed completely, unshakably, that God himself had sent this man to protect her son, and by extension the entire Russian Empire. And because Nicholas loved Alexandra more than almost anything, and because he was a gentleman in a position that demanded a ruthless one, Rasputin's access to the most powerful family in Russia became essentially unlimited. Now picture what that looked like from the outside. A filthy peasant from the edge of the world, sitting in palace rooms, eating with his hands at tables set with gold, walking the corridors that generals and ministers waited months for permission to enter. Emerging from private meetings with the Tsarina looking pleased with himself. His enemies multiplied so fast they couldn't organize against him, the church despised him, the aristocracy feared him, politicians watched him in horror. Journalists wrote about his drinking, and his women, and his late nights holding court across the city like a prophet who decided saints were overrated. He made no effort to hide any of it. Not the drinking, not the women, not the power. That either means he was completely untouchable, or he needed people to believe he was. And here's the question that nobody, not then, not now, has been able to answer cleanly. Was Rasputin running a con, or was he the real thing? The manipulation case writes itself. He planted himself at the pressure point of a mother's terror and never let go. While Nicholas commanded troops at the front during World War I, Alexandra ran the government in St. Petersburg, consulting Rasputin on everything. He had opinions on military strategy, on foreign policy, on which ministers should keep their jobs. Russia was hemorrhaging soldiers in one of history's worst wars, and a Siberian peasant who'd never read a policy document in his life was whispering in the ear of the woman running the country. But the devotion case is harder to shake than people want it to be. He wrote to Alexandra like a man who meant every word. He stayed when staying was genuinely dangerous. By 1916, the death threats weren't theoretical anymore. He knew exactly what was coming for him. He could have disappeared, taken his money, gone back to Siberia, vanished into the same wilderness that made him. He had every reason to run. He didn't move. Was he a manipulator who got too attached to his marks? A true believer who also happened to benefit enormously from believing? A man so convinced of his own destiny that fear stopped making sense to him? Nobody has answered that. And that's where it gets truly strange, because what happened next suggests Rasputin already knew exactly how his story was going to end. By late 1916, Russia was coming apart at the seams. The war was a catastrophe. The government was in freefall. And a group of men decided that Rasputin was the most removable piece of the problem, that if they could just cut him out, maybe the whole rotten structure could be saved. The lead conspirator was Felix Yusupov, young, obscenely wealthy, married into the Romanov family itself. Elegant in the way only someone raised entirely inside gold-leafed rooms can be. Theatrical. Absolutely convinced he could save the Russian Empire by eliminating one man. He recruited a right-wing politician, a Grand Duke, and allegedly one or more British intelligence agents who had decided that a mystic with the Tsarina's ear was a direct threat to the Allied war effort. That part was never officially confirmed. Britain has never commented on it. Make of that what you will. They invited Rasputin to Yusupov's palace. The 29th of December, 1916. Late at night, a private dinner, they said. Rasputin came willingly. Let that land for a second. A man who knew people wanted him dead, who had survived previous attempts, who received open death threats, who watched his own influence make him a target every single day, walked into a private dinner at a nobleman's palace in the middle of the night without hesitation. Either he trusted Yusupov completely, or he was past caring what happened to him, or he knew something was coming and chose to walk toward it anyway. None of those explanations make him easier to understand. Yusupov led him down to the basement. Food was waiting. Wine, cakes, all of it, every bite, every sip laced with potassium cyanide at doses calculated to kill several men. Rasputin sat down. He ate, he drank, he made conversation. And then nothing happened. Yusupov watched him for 2 hours. 2 hours! Rasputin sat there completely alive, relaxed, asking Yusupov to play guitar. The poison that should have dropped him in 20 minutes wasn't doing anything. Nobody has ever fully explained why. Maybe the cyanide degraded in the food. Maybe the sugar neutralized it. Maybe his body had built up tolerances from years of hard living that no aristocrat could have predicted. But the man who was supposed to be a corpse was making song requests. So Yusupov went upstairs, got a revolver, came back down, shot Rasputin directly in the chest. He collapsed. Yusupov stood over the body, confirmed he was dead, went back upstairs to regroup. A few minutes passed. He came back down. Rasputin's eyes opened. He grabbed Yusupov by the throat and hauled himself upright. He made it up the stairs. He crossed the entire courtyard. He burst out into the snow, and he was running, actually running for the palace gate, when Purishkevich shot him twice more from behind. He fell into the snow. They beat him with a rubber club until nothing moved. They bound him with ropes, wrapped him in cloth, carried him to the frozen Neva River, and dropped him through a hole in the ice. The autopsy later found water in his lungs. He was alive when he hit the water, and one hand had worked free from the ropes, reaching upward through the darkness under the ice, like his body hadn't gotten the message yet. Like something in him, whatever that thing was that made rooms stop and Serenas believe and poison fail, like that thing simply did not know how to quit. They pulled his body from the Neva 3 days later, frozen solid, ropes still on him except for that one hand, still reaching toward the surface. The Romanovs were dead within 2 years. Nicholas, Alexandra, all 5 of their children lined up in a basement and executed. The empire Rasputin had haunted for over a decade collapsed exactly on schedule. But here's the thing that won't leave me alone. Months before they killed him, before the basement, before the poison, before the river, Rasputin wrote a letter. He gave it to the Tsar personally. It said, and I'm not paraphrasing this, "If I am killed by common men, you and your children will rule Russia for centuries to come. But if I am murdered by your own nobles, their hands washed with my blood, then none of your family will remain alive for more than 2 years." He was killed by nobles. Every member of the Romanov family was dead within 2 years. He wrote that letter knowing what was coming for him. He walked into that basement knowing. He went anyway. Stay curious and stay weird.